He is the host of Special Report with Bret Baier weekdays at 5 o'clock on Fox News Channel. It's our friend, Bret Baier. You're looking good. How are you?
Hey, buddy. How are you? It's a countdown. I'm listening to live Coconut Creek, Biden, Trump, trying to keep track of everything.
And it's the final stretch of the election. How crazy has this been for you?
I mean, it's pretty nuts. I thought 2016 was pretty crazy. 2020 is crazier. And, I think that this election could go a number of different ways. The fact is we just don't know because there are so many people voting. I mean, 70 million people will have voted early, maybe more. It's historic. So, when you look at polls, all these pollsters, Pete, have their own look at what the electorate's going to look like. I just don't think they can predict it really down to the vote.
Right. Because you don't know who's telling the truth, because some people are embarrassed to say that they're going to vote for Donald Trump, even though they're going to. That's what happened in 2016. We saw that Hillary was ahead in the polls, and look what happened. But I want you to mention that again. 70 million people have early voted. That is just crazy. President Trump says this is the most important election of our lives. Is it, or is every election important?
I mean, every election's important because it's the future of the country, but this one does have kind of a steering point. The country's divided. Either you like Trump, you don't like Trump. But when it comes to policies, these are going to be totally different roads, depending on what America chooses. And we should also point out that the Congress is up in the air, not really the House. That's pretty much Democrats will control that definitely. But the Senate is definitely in play.
Right.
And it's possible that Democrats win the White House, the Senate, and the House.
You mentioned you have two candidates that are completely different from each other. So here is my question to you. You've been doing this a long time. Who are these people that are undecided? They have to know something. Either they're not educated or they're not telling us. Who are the undecideds?
I don't know. These are the same couples who choose not to learn what the baby's sex is going to be, and they paint the wall gray. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm just kidding. They're just not sure.
Right.
And I think there are some people that don't like the way Donald Trump talks and tweets. But they do like his policies, so it's like two sides of a paper. One side is the crazy stuff that they just don't like, and the other side are the policies and deregulation and the business stuff that they do like.
Right. I mean, you can't argue with that. I mean, people love to hate Trump. They do. And Uncle Joe, Joe Biden, a likable guy, but, the mental gaffes. I mean, you got two completely different personalities. But I wanted to ask you about the swing states. The candidates are pounding the pavement in the swing states. Georgia has typically been a red state, and I think Biden is still leading in Georgia. Is that right? Can he take it?
He can. It's really surprising. I mean, traditionally it's ruby red in Georgia, but this year Georgia is in play. It's why Biden made two stops there. He gave a speech the other day in Warm Springs, the little White House for FDR, and he gave a speech about, Roosevelt, and that was kind of Roosevelt's home away from home, where he recovered from polio. But Democrats have looked at that as always a goal in Georgia. Hillary Clinton flirted with it at the end of the race, but
Right.
now it's really there. And whether he's really ahead, I'm not sure, but it's definitely tied. If you look at any of these state polls, these battleground states, if it's within 2 or 3, it could flip either way, just depending on who shows up. That's the margin of error in these polls.
It's crazy.
And we saw that in 2016, where Trump outperformed by about 7 points in a place like Wisconsin.
Don't forget about the hanging chads in 2000.
Oh, yeah. I was there 40 days and 40 nights, bouncing from courtroom to courtroom. Yeah.
I think we had you on back in 2000. It's been 20 years. It's just crazy.
That's true.
Did you vote, Bret?
I haven't, and I don't actually, Pete. I choose not to vote, just because it's easier for me. My wife votes, and my kids, when they're of age, will vote, but it's just an easier thing for me. just to cover it fairly. And I'm not saying that every news guy should not vote. It's just what I choose to do.
Right. I voted this year by mail for the first time. I will never walk into a polling place ever again. It was so easy to vote by mail. I got my ballot in late September, and people don't realize that you can go online and see that they received it. They received it October 14th. I was done. It was wonderful.
Yeah, the issue now is if people are still thinking they're going to vote by mail, your deadline is met.
Can't
In
do it.
most states, you can't do it. So, if you were planning on voting by mail like today or tomorrow, you got to find a drop box or take it to the registrar.
Right. Let's talk about the Supreme Court. Amy Coney Barrett, her nomination flew through in 5 weeks. Now there's talk about the Democrats. If Joe Biden gets in the office, they're going to pack the courts. What's your opinion on this? What do you think is going to happen?
I do think there's going to be a push by the Democrats to have some retribution. They really felt like the process was kind of rigged. I will say that if the Democrats win the same spot as the Republicans, and the seat was vacant, they would move forward to fill the seat too. But that's where we are. I do think that if Joe Biden is elected and it's a Democratic Senate, there'll be some effort to change the court system, whether it is adding Supreme Court justices, putting limits on them, terms, rotating them, to different courts. I don't know. They're going to look at ways to try to balance it out because Trump's added 3 Supreme Court justices. Not only that, he's added almost 200, no, more than 200 federal appeals court and district judges. That's a huge thing that will change the long-term trajectory.
Once the election ends, you would think that we could take a deep breath, but the pending the Affordable Care Act Supreme Court case, November 10th. Oh my, It just doesn't end, Brett. It keeps going.
Well, hopefully the election doesn't keep going till
Right.
November 10th. I mean, hopefully we'll have a winner. I wake up in cold sweats sometimes thinking there are going to be 3, 4, 5 Tallahassees, about signatures on absentee ballots
Right.
or battles. There's some states, Pete, they have a Secretary of State who's a Democrat and a legislature who's a Republican, and they have to get on the same page to have the state nominate electors for the Electoral College. Well, if they're different and they don't agree on it and the election's not solved, then there's all kinds of legal battles that happen, and it could take a long time.
And it's going to because it's 2020.
It's 2020. And then a murder hornet is going to fly in and some hurricane's going to hit. I mean, it's really crazy.
It's just nuts. You had Hunter Biden's business partner on this week. Do you believe him?
So I didn't have him on. Tucker had him on.
Right,
but,
Tucker had him on, but Fox.
Yeah, but yeah, sure. I think there are more questions to ask there. I don't know why he would be saying what he said he's not getting paid, as far as we can tell, by anybody. Right. He's got a distinguished military service. I think there are many questions to ask, but he clearly says he met with Joe Biden and talked about these business dealings. Joe Biden says he's never talked about Hunter Biden's business dealings, and there's some shady stuff there. I think it's worth pursuing. It's worth asking the questions. I'm just surprised that the social media ban, the kind of ban on the story anyplace else, makes it more of a story for me, a journalist, to say why is this happening?
Do you think it's going to sway people? Do people care?
No. I mean, Trump supporters care because the more something is not covered or censored, they think it follows a pattern. And there is a story to tell there about that happening. Does it move voters? I don't think so at all. The thing that moves voters probably is the economy. And today's news that the GDP is up 34% for the third quarter. That's a big deal in a closing message. I think that the biggest issue this season is COVID by far. And, Biden talks about that every stop, rightfully so, because he's winning votes on the handling of COVID.
People say a lot of this COVID stuff is going to go away after the election, but we're seeing cases on the rise, more deaths. We're seeing people are saying, well, more people are getting tested. That's why the cases are up, but that's not true, which you reported on this week.
Yeah, no, it's not true. I mean, there's just a lot of cases. And yes, we do test a lot, but I don't look at the cases. I look at the hospitalizations. And when the hospitalizations go up, that's the big issue because communities can't, deal with the numbers and the deaths are going up. And then you look at Europe and what they're dealing with. They're considering another round of lockdowns because it's really bad. Europe is like a step ahead of us. So I do believe the docs who say that we're in for, whatever it is, it's not going to go away November 4th.
Boy, it's just not good. I mean, the governor has shut down Chicago, no indoor service in restaurants and bars. I mean, we're going to see half the bars in downtown Chicago, half the restaurants go out of business. It's terrible.
I do think that there's some states that are going to figure out how to better deal with it to not do full lockdowns. And whether that is a mask mandate, whether that is vulnerable people, being separated, and eventually there's going to be a vaccine. When that hits,
right,
that'll change the scenario.
We got Thanksgiving coming up. Your wife Amy is from Chicago. What are you guys going to do? You're going to stay at home? You're going to come here? What's going to happen?
I think we're going to go to Florida if I can get away. I think we're just going to go south, get some sunshine, bring the kids, and we've got family down there too in the off season.
Do you guys have a list? Because if we go to Florida, I'm grounded if I come back to Chicago because the mayor put Florida on the list.
Yeah, that's true. The DC does not have that, but I should probably check. But I don't mind being grounded in Florida. I have an uplink there. I'll just do it there.
And something that you've been saying, I don't know if you've said it before, but I've been listening this week, and maybe I'm paying more attention because I was going to talk to you. Fair, balanced, and unafraid. You've been saying that a lot on your show.
Yeah. That was the tagline that when I took over for Bret Hume, fair, balanced, not afraid. And he came up with it during the anthrax scare. And when I took over the show, I said, Bret, can I keep the tagline? And so now I sometimes I say fair, balanced, and still unafraid, because, it's a scary time.
Right.
I also like to say that we're one day closer to putting this all behind us. I
agree 100%. And how are you doing with the kids at home all day?
Yeah, it's a challenge. The studio is here. I have a studio here in the garage, believe it or not. And so, the dog's barking occasionally. I'm like,
right,
somebody get control of Coco. The kids are doing the distance learning, which is really, holy cow, parents around the country dealing with kids at home staring into a computer. It's tough.
It's crazy. And when did these kids when are they not able to get up and grab something to drink or some food? Dad, I'm hungry. Can you get me some food?
Exactly.
Like, I'm on the phone, Charlie. Come on, man. I'm on the phone.
It's right there. It's 10 feet away from you.
Get up and just walk. That's all you have to do. Bret Baier, you can check him out weeknights at 5 o'clock on Special Report. It's great to see you, man. Thanks for coming on.
You too, man. Of course. And big election coverage. We start Sunday, actually, on Fox News. I'll have a special report at 6 with Martha McCallum. And then Tuesday, obviously, is the big day.
And you're going to be up all night on election night.
Yeah, I think we made the call at 3:30 in the morning, 2016. I'm hoping we have a call by 3:30 in the morning.
Bret Baier. Thank you, Bret.
All right, see you, buddy.